The Owl and the Pussycat by Edward Lear. Random House Book of Poetry for Children, 1983. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up in a 5-pound note. The owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. "Oh, lovely pussy, oh, pussy, my love, what a beautiful pussy you are. You are. What a beautiful pussy you are." Pussy said to the owl, "You elegant fowl, how charmingly sweet you sing. Oh, let us be married, too long we have tarried, but what shall we do for a ring?" They sailed away for a year and a day to the land where the bong tree grows. And there in a wood a piggy-wig stood, with a ring at the end of his nose. His nose, with a ring at the end of his nose. "Dear pig, are you willing to sell for 1 shilling your ring?" said the piggy. "I will." So they took it away and were married next day by the turkey who lives on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, which they ate with a runcible spoon. And hand in hand, on the edge of the sand, they danced by the light of the moon. The moon, they danced by the light of the moon. Hello, good morning to you out of lovely Berlin on this, the 9th of November, 2024. And this episode is just a little mic check. The last time I gave myself permission to do on my show whatever the hell I want, I just got up this morning with 4 bits of inspiration that I want to share with you. The first one has to do with voice. The second one, how I framed it, was hope in spite of. The third one was politics as an attempt to outsource certain things. And the last one is the satisfaction of the calling. Now, the first one, voice, that is kind of like a reiteration of why I started this podcast in the first place. It was kind of an attempt to take ownership of my own voice, as I always shape it. And I'm still happy that I have done that since 2019, as I've said many times. And, here I am today feeling happy that I still have the opportunity to put this voice out, to put out some thoughts, put out some reflections in the hope that 1 or 2 people might find a bit of inspiration from it. The voice that I put out is sometimes, might be bordering on the sarcastic or even on the cynical. Sometimes I talk a little bit about politics, about the way I feel, about the things that drive me as a trainer, and so on. But the first real inspiration for this drive to put my own voice out there was, as I said, taking ownership. Now, this idea of digital identity, it's still present in my mind. It is still something that I am motivated to articulate by using this media. I think that most of us, we have access to so much power, so much reach in terms of, the Instagrams we use the TikTok well, I don't really use Facebook anymore, but many people still use it, and all these other platforms that we have. And sadly, most of the time we use this reach to, for just fun and games and, to look for things and occupy ourselves with things that are pretty much non-progressive, nothing that uplifts, but occupy ourselves instead with all these distractions that are set before us, yes, and are actually so destructive. So this, in terms of voice, was my attempt to be conscious, be mindful of this power to reach people, inspire people, uplift people. And this is gonna feature prominently as we move forward with this podcast. I will always do my utmost best to ask myself the question, if what I'm putting out into the world now with every publication is positive and uplifting, and only if it passes that test, then I will publish it. Now, I'm inviting you, if you feel as if, I have forgotten that rule for myself or so, you can always call me out and I will do my utmost best to either correct that or clarify what it is that I mean. Now, the second thing was the idea of hope in spite of. What exactly does that mean? It means that, in the face of all the negativity that is out there in the world, we can make the active decision not to be enveloped, not to be swallowed up. That kind of connects to the first motive, as I mentioned earlier, voice. But hope in spite of means that we can actively decide for ourselves that we do have access to the choice to stay positive, right? And not to, carry around this negativity and again reflect, ask ourselves the question, if we are proliferating ideas and feelings that are basically good or bad, what is the stance that we take? And is this what we're putting out into the world really something that offers people positivity? Now, the third thing was, and this one is a little bit heavier, sometimes, I could say I have been known to be a little bit political in some of the things that I put out there. But I heard this thought a few months back, and it could be that the reason why we occupy ourselves with politics and things of that matter or things of that nature is because we attempt to outsource accountability. And what I mean by that is that we try to outsource the responsibility of, things that happen in the world and, making positive change to other people. The politician who is there, who takes on this role, or in some cases pretends to take on this role, they know that accountability cannot be outsourced. It's something that starts with the individual. It starts with how we treat ourselves, first and foremost, our partners, also our direct family or direct circle, whether it be of friends or of colleagues, and then it extends to the wider community. So this accountability starts and ends with each of us. We cannot outsource it, but we do it out of laziness. Yeah, we try to give that responsibility to someone else, and this someone else, they know that they can't take it, but they pretend that they can, because so many of us want to believe that we can outsource this accountability. And that is what leads to a lot of problems, because inevitably we're going to be disappointed. This accountability begins with us, towards ourselves, towards our partners, towards our family, friends, circles, communities, and the larger society. But it's something that's with us. We have to take on the accountability to live properly, live respectfully, live mindfully of each other. Now, this is not me trying to put myself out there as some kind of guru or some kind of person who has it all right. Generally speaking, I don't really know if I'm a good quote-unquote person. I've done some bad things in life, right? I'm not going to put all of the details of that to the scrutiny and device of mass public media, but, I'm not going to pretend that I am the best person, right? I do not have all these things down. It's a process. It's a process of reflection. It's a process of, taking note. And as I said, being mindful of how we interact with each other in the world. It's not something that we can outsource. It's not something that we can perfect in one move or even stay silent to before we've perfected it. The perfection is not something that we will achieve. And I'm afraid that this strive for perfection is also something that is holding us back from speaking, talking, communicating with each other, sharing these ideas, building with each other, because we're afraid that somebody's going to come back and say, well, you don't have it down, so how can you be talking about it? Of course, I don't have it down. Of course, you don't have it down. But as I said, it's a process. Now, that was the third idea that I wanted to share today. And the fourth one is the satisfaction and the calling. Now, as I get older in life, on this, again, the 9th of the 11th, 2024, I can say to you that I have to admit that I have grown a little bit cynical. Yes, I don't really believe so blindly in certain things, the promises that people make. And sometimes, when I see the politician taking the stage, anything, and forgetting that all of this starts and ends with the accountability that we take on for ourselves. Nobody can and nobody will do it for us. Now, coming back to the satisfaction of the calling I'm talking about is the calling to share, the calling to talk to people, the calling to, I tend to avoid this word, to be vulnerable, but to embrace my perfect imperfection and try to inspire reflection with the channels that I have at hand. Now, these channels are varied. I use artistic channels, sometimes I use photography, I use writing, I use this podcasting, I talk to people, converse with ideas. And this is a satisfaction because this is the only way, I think. Inspiring reflection, having access to one another to exchange these ideas respectfully, mindfully, and with empathy. And it's a satisfaction because it really is, I think, the only way. Right? And that's it. I really don't have much more to say to that. As I said, this little episode is kind of like a mic check, checking out a new mic I have to see what it does with my voice. I'm actually going to put this out there without any processing. And, I've allowed myself lots of freedom with my podcast now. I'm not going to make any big promises to say, well, this is only what it's about. Sometimes, when a moment of inspiration strikes me in the morning at 5 and I write it down and I take the mic and I talk unscripted, I'm just going to put it out there. And, as I always say, like it if you like it. And if you don't, lie to me. Okay, so that was it. Ian Antonio Paddison coming to you again for another episode of iAntonio Media. All right, so I wish for you and yours a wonderful weekend and a wonderful and productive week coming up. Over the past few days, I was a little bit under the weather, but maybe you hear that in my voice. It's getting a little bit better now, but I just felt the urge today to share this with you. All right? So, with a small win is always a good way to begin. Ian Antonio Paddison for iAntonio Media. Looking forward to hearing from you. And bye for now.